Psychological continuity as a problem of identity. Chains of memories that are connected are the way of identifying a person offered by the psychological continuity theory. For example, if one person remembers being himself 10 years ago and 10 years ago he remembered that he had been the same person 5 years earlier, then it is the same person according to the theory. Nevertheless, as Derek Parfit pointed out in his critique, psychological continuity does not fully answer the question of who am I. He offers a thought experiment called the split brain argument. It is based on the situation where a person's brain is split in half to save a person's life, and both of these halves are placed in different bodies. This leads to the question, what happens to the person's identity after his brain is shared by two different people? Consequently, there are three possible answers to the question above. First is that John is going to be both people, second is that John is going to be one of those people, and the third question is that John is going to be neither of them. However, Parfit argues that none of those answers is correct. John cannot be both of those people because they will start to live separate lives with different experiences, hence, they cannot be considered one person anymore. The second question also cannot be answered because if one person can be considered John, why cannot the other one? Finally, the third one is considered grossly misleading by Parfit because John, who had undergone an operation, had his dreams and aspirations, and the purpose of doing this. Hence, people after the operation will most likely have the same intentions and aspirations according to the psychological continuity theory. Therefore, Parfit's critique identifies three problems with psychological continuity. The first problem is created because of the transitivity of identity. John cannot become two different people. The second problem is the fact that both people have an equal claim to being the original person. Thirdly, it is misleading to conclude that John has gone out of existence by virtue of having two later person stages that have equal claim to being psychologically continuous with the earlier stage. Hence, the solution to those problems offered by Parfit's critique lies in applying a measure of degree. Psychological continuity should differentiate between the numerical identity, which, in the case of personal identity, is a trivial truth. Numerical identity admits that the person John is in 2021 was the same as John in 2000. However, John in December of 2021 is much more of the same person compared to John in November of 2021, which puts trivial truth to the degree. All those problems pointed out by Parfit's critique emphasize how contradictory the theory of psychological continuity is. However, other theories on personal identity are also problematic. For example, there is the body identity theory and the memory theory. The body theory is criticized for the changing nature of body parts, such as DNA, which should be present for the person to be present. The memory theory proposed by Locke is challenged by the fragility of memory. For example, if the person does not remember being a 2-year-old, that does not mean that they were not the same person. In conclusion, the number of problems associated with psychological continuity and other theories leads to the conclusion that the concept of personal identity is also problematic, and there may not be such a thing as identity.